Welcome to Procrastinate, a podcast for professional procrastinators everywhere. My name is Athena Kablenu. I am a comedian and writer and other things too, but I am really great at procrastinating. I thought it would be nice to have a chat with fascinating and industrious people about how they get stuff done. Today, I'm talking to Nels Abbey. He's a writer and his most recent book, Think Like a White Man, is out now. He has a regular column in The Guardian and he runs monthly events in London called Uppity that stage necessarily provocative debate and serve as a platform for intellectuals to have a lot of fun. Too often, fun is not associated with intelligence, which is mad. I think that's a space where the real jokes begin, but I'm not going to digress or go off on a tangent and talk about that. Let's just procrastinate with Nels Abbey. Let's stop procrastinating, okay? Yeah. Let's stop procrastinating and welcome to this podcast, Procrastination, Nels Abbey, who has written a book, Think Like a White Man, who before he became a writer was a, if I say financier, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a broad term, financier, banker, whatever you wish to do.
Banker. Well, financier doesn't rhyme with wanker. So
yes,
let's go with financier.
I'm sure there's a term that it does rhyme with.
Did you get sick of that, like you're a banker? With all your friends much more mature than my friends? Because that's what they would do. They'd call me like a banker the whole time.
Ironically, most of my friends actually were bankers. Yeah, so most of them were bankers or lawyers or one thing or whatever like that. So yeah, so pretty much I think most of my friends, my core friends, we did our A-levels together, went to university together. So we all just went on from there and pretty much just birds of a feather flock together. Right. And that was it.
Are you a procrastinator? And if you are, what should you be doing whilst you're here talking to me about not doing your work?
It's very good. I think by nature, if you're creative, you're going to be a bit of a procrastinator because you're almost just going to be waiting for the right moment or that right thing, something to just fall in place, or something you can see or something you can hear or something you can feel or something. Sometimes it might just be going to the loo or something and then something clicks in you that, yeah, you've got the idea. So quality is paramount to the actual creative, and therefore procrastination is a part and parcel of the actual job, and it feels like it. And if you don't have that, if you're just somebody who could just, if you're a Jay-Z who could just walk inside the booth and then the words just start coming out, you're very lucky. But most of us, you might sit at the computer for about 18 hours a day. And if you get a good 3 or 4 hours, you're very lucky.
You've just ended this podcast. We're just waiting for the right moment. Because I wanted to make this podcast because I wanted everybody to be kinder to themselves about the things they're not doing, especially if their job is generally what they want to do with their life. Yeah. Can I find myself going, I haven't written my 6 episodes of my smash hit sitcom yet. I haven't written this, I haven't written that. And it's like, yeah, but my lights are on because of what I write and what I perform. So I must be doing something right. But at the same time, I do spend a lot of time going, my skirting boards are dirty. Yeah. I think I might clean.
You'll find something too. So I have a terminology I use with in my household with my family, and I just have 3 or 4 words, and it's just simply words are coming, and it just means that I had been waiting to catch that rhythm or so. So Andre 3000 described it like sitting down, being on your back, looking at the ceiling fan, just turning around, trying to catch that feeling for the instrumental. Once you've got it, off you go from there. So for me, it's just like words are coming, and then if words are coming, that means that money's coming. So that means that just leave me alone. If you guys want to go to the park, go to the park, go to a restaurant, do whatever you want to do. Just that now's the money time. And if I can get say 7 days, and I can have 3 days where words are coming. That's an amazing week.
That's a good percentage.
That's an amazing week. That's amazing. Because the rest of it just, you're sat there just waiting, procrastination, whatever it might be, or forcing yourself to write something, and you're probably going to delete it. So there we go. Is
this something that you had to contend with when you transitioned into becoming a writer, or was this something you had to deal with when you were working in banking?
So it's a good point in banking too. So banking was very, very immediate. So working financial services was very immediate, and sometimes it's a little bit monotonous. So what we do as creatives, there is no routine here. There's no routine in how you can actually. There's no formula in how you write a joke.
What are you talking about? There's no routine. I get up, I eat my breakfast, wander about for a bit.
So you take, for example, you guys are lucky. You guys who go on the stage, you're lucky and unlucky insofar as you guys have to hit every single night or so. Every single night you go out. I don't do that. So I'm not. I do uppity every now and then. Also, I do a live event, but I don't have to make sure the jokes are just coming, and then and coming as once you hit the set, and then improvise on top of it, and make sure you're having that good night every single. I just don't have to do. I don't think I'll be good enough to. I've got that level of intelligence. But so when it comes to working in banking or so, it was just like, okay, I'm going for it. But in banking, you could tell, because my natural facial expression is a frown. And I often say to people nowadays, when I would go into, if I go into any professional setting or any place where I know I'm not going to be entertained, I often say to people, if I look like I'm miserable, don't be too alarmed. My natural facial expression is a frown. I just naturally look miserable. But sometimes just setting them up to let them know that I might be bored out of my head, but I don't want you to know it. So I look like somebody at prisoner cell block hatred banking. I was really not that guy. So yeah, so in that case, it's just like you just had to get in there and hit the ground running. And then, but sometimes I just wouldn't. Sometimes it just wasn't coming. Are you with me? It just wasn't coming because I wasn't inspired and whatever it was.
Do you have to be a creative person to work in finance?
It depends on what you do. Finance is one of the most broadest careers going. So there's.
What did you do?
So in finance, I worked in risk management for a long time. I dabbled in client relationship management for a bit of time too. Did some time in compliance. So I just worked in a range of different roles, and some I was pretty good in, some I was quite crap, essentially. But banking has loads of different, and also too, banking has winners and losers.
Yeah.
You have some people in banking who just have who might just be earning a little bit more money than say they would if they're working in a retail shop, and you've got people like Rishi Sunak, for example, who are the pinnacle elite of banking, who are literally taking home millions a year.
Yeah, when I hear hedge fund,
yeah,
I think Succession. I think helicopters. Yeah.
But not everybody in the hedge fund is making that much money.
Right.
That's the funny thing about it. Sometimes some people might even be losing money too. So it depends on that. So it depends. So there's always the shows like Industry, etc. That just depicts the elite side of things,
right.
The elite side of things. But then or the kids who are trying to break into the elites, and most of them won't. Most of them will just wither away, and because banking really truly doesn't fulfill the soul, that the human being is inherently a creative being, and you need to do something. So but bank, if you're sat there every single day and you're lucky that you're good with numbers, or you're inspired by concept of cash is king and that sort of stuff, you're a rare human being. Most people are just there because they could earn a good bit of money.
Yeah. I saw something on Twitter, obviously, where I get all my opinions from, and it was a really good point. It was like, when you get like nepo babies of like with really wealthy parents, there's a reason why they just pick up a guitar and play it all day. Because when you have all the options in the world of what you can do, it tends to be something in the art. It tends to be a BA, not an MSc. Yeah. Because that's the most fulfilling ultimately, as the theory goes, and it's kind of agrees with what you just said. So is that why you thought I need to sit down and write a book now? Because this is what will make me happy in the long term.
No. I started off my career before I went into banking. I was a writer. So before I went to university, I was a writer. I used to write for hip hop magazines back in the day. I think one of the blessings for my career was there were these screens that you could put on your. So there was this like a black screen that you could put on your screen, right. So it means that only you could see your screen and somebody else wouldn't be able to see the screen.
And they were supposed to save your eyes, weren't they?
But for me, they were just a blessing.
So you could go on like Darker Than Blue and Bossip and all these sites.
They were a blessing for me. They were a loafer's dream come true. So this was so if you're a young person, listen to this. This was back in the day where there was no such thing as working for. This was 9 to 5. You are in the office. In fact, 9 to 5 if you're lucky. This was like 8 till 8 normally. So 8 till 8, sometimes 8 till 10, and then you end up going out with some of your friends or so afterwards, and then you'll be out, go home at 1 o'clock, then get back there another day for the 8. So
you don't even have time to procrastinate. You're just working and playing, working and playing.
You were often not doing that much.
Right.
You were often not doing that much there. So often what you then find one way or another to just do something. And what was interesting to me is that I would have all those screens in front of me. One of them might be on Facebook and the other one was just me. Any time something happens, an idea, I'll just be pitching ideas to the Evening Standard, to the Guardian, to whoever. And I was at that time writing a column for the Voice newspaper whilst I was still working in banking. So yeah, so
you were multitasking.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So procrastination. One thing I think about procrastination is that when the other thing you do is always, it's never like you're never just cutting your toenails. There's always something really either useful or interesting. We never put off our work to kind of do something silly.
Also too, don't you think, so when you're watching something, we live in the age of the death of boredom or so there's no more, you have no excuse to be bored nowadays or so. There's none whatsoever. There's too much to do. This is not the 80s anymore or anything else. This is not like Channel 5. This is not like the launch of Channel 5 or so, or this is full time. You can do whatever you want. There's always something or somebody willing to entertain you or anything else or to capture your attention. So what was interesting to me is that I would offer, what I might consider procrastination, I consider to be research. So I just put things on in the background and just made it watch. For example, the last season of Top Boy, I watched that in a day, and I was so ashamed of myself because Kano then said something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, how can you watch this show in the whole day?" And I was like, I just finished watching that in the day too. The very day it came out, I remember I was there at midnight, refreshing Netflix, hoping it would come out. They came out at 8 a.m. the following morning. I just watched the whole shebang in the name of actually just waiting for words to come.
Yeah.
And then fair enough. But that was that's the way it goes.
That's like the world evolved and conspired against us as artists who need to consume art. Like I have to watch TV to write it. I have to watch comedy to write it. I have to know who's good, who's not, or whatever. Like, but it's like I can't. It's not like back in the day when you watched ER on a Thursday night and then you wait 7 days.
No, so those days
and
are
there used
over.
to be like 30 episodes a season of ER. Could you imagine if you had to stream 30 hours? Like you'd be like a crack addicted person, just like tears streaming down your face. Like make it end, make it end. So it's not, the world is not fair to people like us.
Yeah,
it's not our fault.
It's funny because it's not. I remember the first box set I ever watched was The Sopranos. So I watched this.
Oh, it's intense.
Yeah, my younger brother and I were just flicking through channels. This is about 1999. We're flicking through channels and we could get on this show where just suddenly we just see this guy holding a glass of orange juice thing and he gets shot, and it just the orange juice glass just saves his life. And we thought, so this looks like an interesting show. Yeah. Then we thought, what's this? The Sopranos, and watched it again afterwards. Then we went out to go buy the whole box set of VHS.
When it really was a box. I don't think kids realise it's called box set.
It was a box. It was a box. We went to HMV. They were selling it free for £20 or so for the VHSs. Yeah. So we had to buy, I think it was about 12. So we had to buy 4 sets of us. So we were spending about £80 on the first season of The Sopranos. And then, and my younger brother and I would just watch it almost obsessively to the point where we learned every single line within weeks. But we were just doing it. It was almost like, to this very day right now, when you pick up telephone, you might just say something for The Sopranos or something from an Uncle Murder mixtape. And that's pretty much, but it's also part of how you're enriching yourself as far as culture is concerned. And then, because if you wish to be a creator of culture and content, or arts, as I like to call it, then you have to watch it. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing and make sure that you know what's good and what's bad, and then take it forward from there.
But what's really interesting is you watch The Sopranos and you love it and you remember it. But there's so much that I have binged where I'm like, I've forgotten the last 20 hours of my life. So we're consuming a lot of stuff that doesn't edify us. Yeah, I think.
But also too, if you look at Top Boy, one of the things I found interesting, even the Drake Netflix version, one of the things I really appreciated was the plays that shows about the lives that we live, or so that you saw. There was a guy called Driss, for example, who'd pretty much become a middle-aged black man before his time, and then became an old black man before his time. Which he was a young man with old man diseases, as quite literally he was having seizures and all sorts of other, and it didn't look good to him. You could tell that the whole thing was just slipping through his fingers in the end. Not to spoil it, but yeah, in the end it ended poorly for him. But part of me thought to myself that story there, where you see young black people with old people issues or so, that's not uncommon.
Honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. One of the most refreshing things was sort of showing people live literally unhealthy lives. Yeah. So that's one of the things that disappointed me about the last season, was at the end of the season prior, we saw Ashley Waters' character be ill. Like, he's not well, and in the next season he's running around with like 40 kilos of dope, just like looking like kind of this $6 million man. And I'm just like, but this was such a good storyline. He's gonna be in the same place as that guy. It was like prophetic, and I was like, that's so good, because that's what we want to see. We want to see his actual physical and spiritual decline against his material kind of success,
elevation.
But we watched it and we binged it and we used it as research to inform our own thing. So did you watch that when you wrote your latest book, which is about hip-hop, the hip-hop MBA?
So what was the thing when I wrote so the first book, this latest book, was an idea I actually came up with in around the turn of the century. And when did So Solid's 21 Seconds come out?
Oh God, when I was at uni, so around 2000. We're probably the same age then. Yeah. So 2000, 2001, I think.
Yeah, so 21 Seconds had come out. And then I bump into Nihao. Nihao is a presenter on Radio 5 Live. So I'm originally from West London. So I'm from W9, a place called Maida Vale, which many people think of now as a very posh area. But trust me, I was there when it was not a slum per se, but it wasn't what it is now, which is like, hey,
it was lower Kilburn, basically.
Yeah, a cheap house now would be $1.5 million at least, which that's a flat. But what's interesting is that there's a little corner on Harrow Road where there's a cost cutter on where Harrow Road meets Elgin Avenue, and it's where all the all sorts of debauchery and all sorts of all the what do they call it, the freaks come out at night, all the society's the horrible little people just come out at night and they just conglomerate around there. So you got the everything you could think of or so. So of course myself and Nihao were there at the time or so. So and then this was about 2:00 in the morning. And then I then see Nihao. And Nihao was a known figure around the turn of the century. Yeah. And then so me and my friend saw him. He was, that's Nihao. Then we went to go speak to him. And we're speaking to him. And Nihao was lovely. And we're just speaking to him normally. And we started talking hip-hop. And as we're talking hip-hop or so, I didn't quite get the So Solid sound to begin with. I didn't quite get the 21 seconds to begin with. It took a bit, because I was a hip-hop purist. I was Raucous Records, all that sort of stuff. And then we were then talking about it in general. I said, okay, but I think So Solid might be distorting UK hip hop. And he said, but think about, put that to a side. He then said something about Mega Man from So Solid, who was the founder of So Solid and the leader. Said Mega Man is such a great leader that when you think about it, he took 30-something children from his estate and created a rap group out of them, and it took them to #1 in Britain. And think of how much that took to get that done. And from there, that just planted a seed in my head that that's there's an interesting story here about hip hop and business. And I hadn't studied business then. I was still in my early days studying business economics before, which I studied at university. And then from there, it just stuck in my head that one day I'm going to write a book about business and hip hop and what's going on there. And here we are today.
So rappers, creatives, okay, who are supposed to be fulfilled by their creativity, but yet make all this money. Okay, so are they like us? Are they procrastinators like us, doing it for the art, twiddling their thumbs, or are they like factory workers just churning out stuff to make money?
It depends on who they are. You take, for example, some of them have an unbelievable work ethic. For example, Jay-Z is somebody who for a good decade just did record after record after record after record. And with me, Nas, I get the vibe that he's somebody who needs to catch the feeling. He needs to have that feeling, or so he needs to be in the zone, catch the feeling, get there and take it forward. Or maybe Jay-Z is consistent in the zone. So Nas was never really the unbelievable super duper businessman that a Jay-Z was, or the conditions to be creative for him, because Nas was a musical prodigy from a young age. I was quickly recognized, whereas Jay-Z was pretty much in his mid-20s before he actually, late 20s, before he was really recognized that, okay, he's somebody of real artistic potential. And then, but you then look at Puff, for example. That's somebody who's just, I don't know if the word is, it's just, that's a capitalist on a new level that I just couldn't really understand. That I've worked with people. Financial services is a bit more gentlemanly, but you get some really cutthroat people in there. But with this was in a very, very different level. For example, I'll give you just a quick example. Remember did you watch the leadership debate the other day? There was a lady there called Paula. She was the first person to ask a question. And she said that, look, that this cost of living and everything else is killing me. I'm really, really struggling with this. That I'm just working to pay bills and everything else. Then Starman came out and said, I know where you're coming from. I came from the exact same thing. Oh, my family was poor, one for another herself. Well, Rishi, your family was rich. And then what are you going to say? Then Rishi was like, hey, I know it's like to struggle. I was like, no, Rishi, don't say you know it's like to struggle. You go out there and pull your checkbook out, right, or a 50 grand right there and then, just hand it to her, shut people up, be like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, because you know what, people might actually vote for that. Yeah, more than like, you say that, I relate to it. Just say, okay, look, it's nothing. Here's an economic injection from me personally to you. That all this other stuff, money talks, bullshit runs marathons. But you then look at it. So yeah, you take a look at these guys. So in terms of who's the procrastinator, I think that some of them just might be. We look at Andre 3000, for example, an absolutely brilliant soul, beautiful man, beautiful soul. And he just made an album of flutes and everything else, which nobody really wants to hear. Let's keep it real.
I liked it.
You listened to it?
Well, I listened to a lot of like instrumental stuff anyway, and stuff. So I liked it. Like, if it wasn't Andre 3000, would I have listened? Probably not. But you know, like I think actually that's his luxury, isn't it?
I have no doubt that some of them are procrastinators. I have no doubt that some of them, even when you listen to some of them, also like the Southern rappers that talk about drinking lean and all that sort of stuff. Or so, I can procrastinate from here to heaven. Or so I can sit down and my study wait, but I won't be there with no drugs and drinking lean, all that sort of stuff. Or so, and scissor or whatever it might be. That's just not who I am. And I think that as a writer, number one, you're probably not gonna. That's gonna end in disaster for you, but pretty quick disaster too. But then again, you see writers or creatives with, I don't know, with all sorts of vices that they use to pretty much get them to fuel their engine.
Honestly, it's a nightmare. That's why it's so expensive to insure our cars.
Yeah.
It's like, God, can we just change the narrative a bit? Because I can't keep these rising costs.
That is it. I take pride in putting writer down on my actual thing there. And suddenly it's just like, hold on 1 second, how's this happening?
No.
It's like, I need to.
But yeah, but it's always for getting, for self-medicating. And that doesn't go with driving, sadly. So what kind of things do you do whilst you're procrastinating, waiting for that moment to come?
So, as I mentioned before, I would watch a lot of TV. I would watch a lot of, some of it, I might listen to somebody. There's some personalities I might listen to some personalities I just find pretty interesting to just listen to.
Oh, which kind of like podcast, radio?
No, sometimes I just listen to people. Sometimes a bit of podcast here and there, some radio here and there. I listen to the news because obviously because as a political satirist, you got to know that. And that's sort of household I grew up into. But sometimes I must be honest with you, sometimes just feel like, I wonder what Umar Johnson said now. And I just listen I look up Dr. Umar. I look at these characters, Dr. Umar. Who else is there? Tariq Nasheed was another one that was just pretty interesting. There's some of these characters I just find, but most of them are American.
So extreme kind of black American voices.
They have a different, because sometimes they might say 1,000 things that are so offensive or so beyond the pale. But they'll say one or two things that's just like, actually, that's a very different way of looking at it. And I often say to people that the Hoteps, and one of my friends, who I probably won't say his name because he'll probably get him in trouble. He's a fairly well-known TV presenter, and he was saying to me that what a lot of black people don't realize is that those guys, like particularly the Dr. Umar types or so, or I might listen to PLO Lumumba also too, by the way. PLO Lumumba is a African Pan-Africanist also, and or Julius Malema or something. Just figure out what those guys are saying, because again, they'll never make it to TV, but I want to hear it. I want to hear that alternative perspective of blackness. And but when you are listening to them, they really and truly do have the odd moment of absolute brilliance. They'll say stuff that's beyond the pale. They'll say stuff that's very homophobic. They'll say stuff that's very sexist sometimes. So, but it just occasionally they might say, and that's just it. Somebody put it right, that on race they are stellar.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually
everything else,
gender, sexual orientation or so, they are super problematic. But sometimes I listen to some of these guys and I feel as if, okay, that's a bit of a secret weapon that this guy has in terms of his thinking also. But other than that, that's it. No, just listen to. But I do watch my fair share of Netflix. I watched that Baby Reindeer show.
Oh yeah. Baby Reindeer was Baby Reindeer was peak procrastination, because not only was it great to watch, it was great to talk about.
Yeah.
So this is great. It's like I've got it's a limited series. I've only got 8 hours out of this. But my gosh, I've got hours and hours of chat about it.
Yeah. So I like that. I like watching Tiger King. I thought Tiger King was pretty good too.
Yes, the thing about Tiger King, straight classic, would never sit through it again. Ever. It made me really itchy, the whole
It helped me
show.
write.
Really? So how did the Tiger King help you write?
I couldn't tell you why, but it's just like when I put that show on, words just start coming. There's something about the weirdness of the characters that just made me think, okay, that's pretty interesting. Something just happens in my mind that it just all opens up. It's the same thing about I go to Miami quite a lot to write, and I say,
is there a reason for Miami?
Because it helps me. There's a lot of weird, strange people in Miami, particularly on South Beach, which is weird, strange people central.
So I go to Miami to help me write. I'm using air quotes.
Yep.
I'm like, really? Is that on your tax return?
No. Trust me. If you read my first book, Think Like a White Man, right? So in terms of like the male vices or so, or the straight male vices or so, I did go to King of Diamonds. Don't get me wrong, but I only went to King of Diamonds.
What's King of Diamonds? A strip bar?
King of Diamonds is it's like we go to a big Sainsbury's. It's like a big Sainsbury's full of strippers. It's like just like full of black and Latino strippers.
Getting your nectar points.
It's just like hold on, this is or like a B&Q. It's like amazing. A B&Q full of strippers or so. And then, but what's interesting, I was sat down on Ocean Drive, and then that was my second or third time I was ever there. This was about 2015 or so, and I'm just writing there. And I was just thinking, okay, it's 2014, I beg your pardon. So I was just writing there, and then suddenly a lady on roller skates came up to me and just said to me, she just came up to me and said to me, Wiz Khalifa's performing at King of Diamonds tonight, you coming through? I was like, Wiz Khalifa? This is breakfast time. I'm eating breakfast, right? I'm eating breakfast and writing at the same time with the hot sun. And then I said to her, Wiz Khalifa? And then she says, yeah. I said, but that's King of Diamonds. I said, the King of Diamonds. And I feel myself, There's a family right beside me here. And there's children here. I said, but are you talking about... Because I've seen King of Diamonds on the Rick Ross video prior to that. And I said, but are you talking about the King of Diamonds? And she said to me, yeah. And she said, no, this is like Miami. It's very different here, bro. This ain't like London, wherever, wherever you're from. And she then started to explain to me that Monday night is strip club night here. I'm just like, it's just craziness. And he said to me, just watch. And they said, make matters worse because King of Diamonds is actually quite distant. You've been to Miami before?
I've been to Miami, but I have to say, I never went to King of Diamonds.
Okay, fair enough. You live a protected life. So King of Diamonds is actually quite a distance away from South Beach. And I tend to drive everywhere. But they send a coach to pick people up. It's that much of an interest. It's like shuttle to the airport. They send a shuttle to take you to King of Diamonds and to bring you back to South Beach. But so I then thought, okay, it's Monday night at strip club. And the worst thing I hated was, I didn't want to write about. I thought, I just can't film myself in the big. I just was beyond that age right now. So then I went. I thought, if Monday night is strip club night, I said, what happens on Tuesday night? She said, it's dead. I thought, I'm going there the night it's dead. So I went the following day on Tuesday. And then I then got there. They let me take my laptop in. I said I was a writer. I went for another. And they said, well, you can't film, but you can write. And then I was just then a young lady called Cece came and sat with me. And we end up talking from about 11 till 4 in the morning. And she just was explaining to me the sexual politics of the strip club and the economics of it and how it all works. And it was super fascinating. She just gave me so much stuff. And it ended up coming a chapter in the book. And that's why I actually did bless you wherever you are, Cece, because I was stupid. I didn't know Cece was just a generic stripper.
This is a chapter in the Hip Hop MBA.
This is a chapter in Think Like a White Man.
Oh, Think Like a White Man.
It's a chapter called Sex Sells. It was written in King of Diamonds. And then King of Diamonds. But Cece, I didn't know that was just a generic stripper name. But by the end of that whole evening or so, she said to me, oh yeah, that the problem with the strip club is that it's dying now because they're bringing in people who will actually sleep with you in the strip club as opposed to. And then I said to her, how does that happen? She said, well, that pushes down the price because you're here to sell fantasy, not to fulfill fantasy. I thought, this is just fascinating terminology. I never knew any of this. And then suddenly I said, so she said the old man who used to own it, he sold it to some rapper from New York. And she said to me, some 90s rapper from New York. I said, who? And she said, Akin something. I said, Akinyele. And she said, yeah. He said, you know him? I said, I don't know him, but I used to love his stuff because obviously Akinyele's got Nigerian names, Nigerian. And I said, I used to love, you've got songs like F Me for Free, Put It in Your Mouth. And I just said, I used to love all that.
Put it in my mouth.
She walks away. And I thought, I thought I was a bit crude. She walks away. She comes back about 5 minutes later with Akinyele in the flesh. And that's a picture of me and Akinyele. I don't have it on my phone right now. That I'll show it to you. You can put it on your podcast thing. But he was right there. That's the only time that I'd ever met him in my life. I couldn't believe it. And then that was it. Dry Tuesday night, just me, that CC. There's some other people. There's maybe about 10, 15 people. Dry Tuesday night. And then one of the members of the Fat Boys, the Latino guy in Fat Boys, he was the DJ for the whole night. And don't get me wrong, it looked quite miserable because there's barely in there. So it's like an empty B&Q with about maybe a dozen strippers in there or so. But where it's normally just be money flying in the air, and that was it.
So 90s rappers, once they get too old to rap, buy strip bars. And your top tip for procrastination is go to Miami.
Go to Miami or watch Lion King or watch Tiger King.
Go to Miami. Find the massive strip club on a dry day.
It depends on what. To be inspired, I think you just need to find inspiration. Miami is a great place to write. It depends on who you are. Some people go to different. There's no point going to New York or go somewhere in Africa or so. Somewhere. Just to me, it's just like it depends if you're a writer or you're a creative. You need to be exposed to things that are just going to make you think differently. That's going to make you just take things in a direction you've never ever seen before, that you've never thought of before. Or put yourself in situations that you just wouldn't have considered, or whatever it might be. You just need to put yourself in that sort of situation. And sometimes it takes you to some gory places, but that makes the best of art, in my view. Just you go to, I don't know,
just take yourself out of your environment and put yourself somewhere where you can be fed by the ether around you.
You ever been on a writer's retreat?
Kind of, yeah. I don't like them.
They'll take you to the countryside. So I was like, hold on one second. Don't take me to the countryside. Take me to the hood in America somewhere. Put me in South Central or Slauson or somewhere. I will come back with really great stuff. That will you want me to write a book about capitalism, so show me the rough ends of capitalism. That's what the hip hop MBA was. It's like, yeah, this is the wild side of capitalism over here, and then let's write a book about it. You want to talk about capitalism? Well, these are people that had to live under the burden of capitalism, the yoke of it. Let's have a chat about that and see what we can forward to do and take forward from there. And that's what I did with the book. But I just feel as if that's more it. So when people say, oh yeah, and they'll show you a lovely picture and you're looking out and you're seeing like wild rabbits and deers and everything else, like, F that! Show me a place where, hey, there's a drive-by shooting taking place outside. That will actually inspire my pen, definitely. All this, like,
so you're saying, like, instead of isolation, actually what's a lot of writers might need is inspiration.
Yeah. You need inspiration. You need to be put through the elements. You need to just find something, because the whole thing the whole thing that you sat beside and there's lovely deers and birds chirping in the morning and all that sort of stuff. I was like, no, I don't want to hear birds chirping. I want to hear the ghetto bird. I want to hear the helicopter in the sky. So that to me is interesting, because that makes you think, what has happened here, and why is this happening here also, and what is it that I can actually use to inform the world about what's happening here, and what's the reflection says everywhere else too. And then also too, how can, if I wanted to write satirically, how can I make this funny also? What could it be the basis of? And that's pretty much it. So Lagos is another great place to go to write, because Lagos is Lagos is the blackest place. If you're a black writer, Lagos is the blackest place on earth, you and me. And Lagos is a land of absolute lunacy and craziness. In fact, one of the craziest places you'll ever go to in your life or so is Lagos's airport. And I often say to people, if that Lagos airport is pretty much it's a conspiracy against the black race. That it really is. It's a conspiracy under one roof. It's just we need to shut it down. We need to bomb it even or so. Right? But no, I'm not. But we do need to shut down the Lagos airport, because it's always like it's like an affirmation of every racist stereotype you've ever had in your head. It's confirmed what you
They're
get.
not even trying to pretend.
No. It's just everything.
It's like welcome to generic
Well,
Africa as a country.
Welcome to black. Welcome to black dysfunction at its absolute worst. I went with like one time I was at Lagos Airport. We're going down the actual escalator, and suddenly the speed just picked up rapidly. And you see these old women screaming and they're getting thrown off or so. Then you see somebody, you get to immigration or so somewhere else, somebody's like, yeah, what did you bring for me from London? It's the person's asking you for a bribe. You're seeing people, just all sorts of craziness just goes on. Last time I was in Lagos, I was there for an arts festival, and it was like loads of white people coming along. So they sent us all a letter of what to do. They specifically advised us to use the loo on the airplane. Before we get off the actual plane, because they said that if you go and use the loo at the airport, you might find it one of the most distressing experiences of your life. And they were not lying, truth be told. So that's it. So it's just kind of like, but then again too, right? Crazy as that is, I can't wait to start writing about.
You can soak it up.
Oh yeah, you can soak it up. You can survive. You can survive it. You can tell it, and you'll probably do quite well for yourself. But yeah.
All right. Well, if anyone's out there that wants to sponsor creative, I'd like to write something about an all-inclusive in Barbados. I'd love to soak up some inspiration.
Great place in Mullins. I've been to Barbados. Yeah, that's a great place.
Yeah. Okay. So just put it out there. Yeah. I think this is packed with advice. I don't know if you've cured my procrastination. If anything, you've made me want to procrastinate more.
I think we just procrastinated here, essentially. We can't probably have answered a single question.
Yeah. I am sorry to tell you that now you have to get out of my house and do whatever it is you've put off to come here, which you never told me. What have you put off to come here today?
I was writing today.
You were writing?
Yeah, I was writing.
Writing the third book?
I was writing a third book. Yeah, I was writing what was actually meant to be the second book, but it's actually now going to be the third book.
It's now going to be the third book. So I think I have done my service to you.
Thank you.
I have enabled you to masticate in the back of your mind what you were going to write. Yep. So now it's going to fall out of you.
Yep.
And thank you for doing the same to me, because I've got some writing. I've got a deadline actually in a couple of hours.
Yikes.
I was lying. Thank you so much, Nels. It's been a pleasure.
Here. Thank you for having me. It's been a delight to be here. Thanks so much, Athena. Much appreciated.
Thank you for procrastinating with me. Today you can find Nels Abbey on Instagram, and like I said, he writes regularly for The Guardian. You can find me anywhere you want to look for me. Type my name into a search engine or a social media site and something will pop up. I'm pretty easy to find. Again, thank you for listening, and we will catch up and procrastinate some more next time.